Hey, you probably heard the term the Great Resignation. People leaving their jobs en masse, feeling burnt out and stressed and really isolated from COVID.
So now there's a new term that people are throwing around, the Great Renegotiation. And joining us to explain and how job seekers, employers, and employees can take advantage of it is HR recruitment expert Chris Dardis from Verseek. Thanks for joining us today, Chris. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me back, you guys.
Well, let's start with this. What exactly is the Great Renegotiation?
Well, the Great Renegotiation is the current hiring market that we're in right now. We've seen that the unemployment has dropped from 14% 2 years ago to about 3% right now. And so companies are having a really tough time finding and keeping their good talent. And so companies, more than ever, are willing to negotiate and renegotiate current deals to both attract and keep their good employees.
So keeping employees, attracting new employees, great job if you're, or great news if you're a job seeker.
Yes.
Right? What kinds of things are people asking for? I mean, is this monetary? Is this an extra week of vacation? Is this a work from home hybrid? What are the bargaining chips people are dealing with here?
That's a good question. What we're hearing about here at Verseek, especially in the Twin Cities, is employees and job seekers are looking for leaders that will allow them to feel seen, heard, and valued. Number two, they're really looking for some autonomy in terms of where they do the work and how they do the work. So they're looking for that flexibility that allows them to blend their work and their home life. And then lastly, they're looking for kind of equal value between how much they give and how much they get from a pay and benefits perspective.
So I know I'll say this is easier said than done, because sometimes these are very uncomfortable conversations to have when you're going through this. How do you start that conversation, and how do you get it to go your way?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, number one, just do some research with yourself and try to figure out exactly what would make your situation a better situation if you're currently employed. Secondly, timing is everything. People are typically asking for these changes or requests at their annual review or in their one-on-ones that they're having with their leaders, but timing is pretty important. Make sure that your leader's having a good day before you put out this request. And then lastly, tell them the reasonings behind the request, why you're looking forward to it, and then really importantly, make sure that the employee understands what they will receive from you if they grant you that request.
Well, yeah, I think that's an interesting point, right? Everyone at the end of the day wants to get to something that is mutually agreeable. The employer wants to feel like I'm gaining an employee who is trusted, who is valued, who wants to be here. The employee wants to feel like my employer sees me, wants me here, appreciates me. So I think you really hit on it when it's that mutually agreeable area that you can get into. And it's beneficial for employers too, right? I mean, talk about the value of that for employers and why they're willing maybe to have this renegotiation today versus 5 years ago when there may have been less wiggle room.
Yeah, well, I think what employees are really starting to recognize is no matter what you're trying to do from a business perspective, if you have the right people, it's possible. And so they're starting to see if individuals aren't in a good situation, they're willing to leave for a better situation. So employers, as much as you can, take a look at the benefits, take a look at how flexible you are being with people returning to work, because it's not going to look the same way it did 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Are there specific industries you think that may be more if you make that renegotiation pitch and you ask for more, are there certain things that you might get that back versus other industries that maybe you won't see that in right now?
You know, I think the industries that are maybe struggling the most to find talent are retail and restaurants and things like that right now. But from a corporate perspective, large employers are really learning to understand what it means to live in a hybrid world, to allow their individuals to have choice as to where they do the work.
How long, Chris, do you think that this renegotiation lasts?
That is really hard to say. You know, with barring another global pandemic, I think a lot of this flexibility and a lot of these changes are here to stay for a long, long time, because employees and candidates are really appreciating it.
This is a notion, and we had a segment yesterday where it was kind of the same thing. As parents of children, we tell our kids, specifically in sports, you say, well, if you want to talk to your coach, go and talk to your coach about it. And we want to empower them with that kind of confidence. Why is it so hard then when we become adults to be able to practice what we preach?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I don't know. I think a lot of Gen Xers like myself, we figure out we'll get what we deserve. We found that earlier individuals in their career are doing a really good job advocating for themselves more than the later generations in the workforce.
Makes sense.
That doesn't bode well for us, my friend.
Well, I think we're all Gen X here. So okay, well, I'll do that. That's
Chris,
cool.
Thank you so much. A lot of good, valuable information. Hopefully people can take advantage of it for sure. Hey, we have posted information for Verseek on MinnesotaLive.com if you want to check it out.